Morning, everybody. Lots going on. There was the Mcleans debate last night, which is going to be our top story in just a minute. But there's been conservative candidates and NDP candidates and Green candidates removed or stepped down for various other reasons. And, well, before the Mcleans debate happened, and then after the Mcleans debate happened, there were some protesters outside demanding Mr. Bernier be invited. That didn't happen. The debate went on without him. But Mr. Bernier, I'll get to that in just a second. Did you watch the debate? I didn't watch the debate. And I didn't really make a conscious choice not to watch the debate because, usually I'm interested in this kind of stuff. I'm not interested in this. And I tried to power through it, but I found I don't have the time that I used to have. So I used to put this on in the background while I was doing some other things, but now I need to motor a little bit faster than that. So I don't have the time to pay attention to that at 2 times speed and do my other work. So with all of that said, I watched a little bit of the debate, and I'm going to read an article from Global News talking about what they think about the debate, and I'm going to show you some clips from the debate. But really, did you watch it? Because I didn't. And that's weird for me, because this isn't speaking to me, and I'm not their intended audience. And I know that. And that's interesting to note. They don't care that I'm not interested in the debate because they're just going to point to it and say, there was the debate. See, that's what people were talking about. That's what's important. And we watched this with Faith Goldie in the Toronto mayoral debate. There wasn't room for her on the ticket. There wasn't, and even though she was on the ticket, they did everything they could to silence her. And we're seeing exactly the same thing Canada-wide from People's Party candidates being excluded from events and debates, which goes against democracy. And I'll be doing a video on my local channel about that if you want to check it out. I'm doing more videos on my local channel now too, as well. There will be one today. But they know that I'm not their audience and they don't care. So what do you do with that? Well, I mean, this is what you do, I guess. I also want to point out, who are the violent extremists in this forthcoming exchange? Here's Maxime Bernier, and he tweets, quote, "Wondering why I wasn't invited to yesterday's Mcleans debate? A contributing editor to Mcleans and debate commentator, Andray flipped off PPC supporters, called them Nazis, and wished them to die in car accidents." Interesting. And here's Andray, and let's look at Andray's Twitter, the tweets themselves here. He says, "Flipped off a bunch of PPC Nazis on my way home, on my way into the city building. Feels good, man." Really? You like doing that, Andray? And he says, "Flipped them off one more time on the way out with a couple suckymutas, and hope you crash on the car ride home." Thrown in for good measure. Sorry, I added car. Hope you crash on the ride home. Doesn't matter if you're in a car or not. Thrown in for good measure. Interesting, Andray. And Andray is certainly the contributing editor to Mcleans. So that seems a little biased. I would invite Justin Trudeau if I was having a debate. Maybe I should have a debate. Justin, do you want to come? Mr. Bernier, you're invited. Mr. Scheer, Miss May, Mr. Singh, please. I've got lots of room around my microphone. Here's the National Post in 2016 reporting on Andray, November 21st. It says, Toronto journalist and activist Andray Domis charged with domestic assault. But don't worry. In early 2017, the charges are dropped. Assault charges withdrawn against journalist and activist Andray Domis. Journalist and activist? Do you need to add that? Interesting. They didn't. Journalist and activist. They did it on both. At least you're consistent, National Post. Quite interesting. So Frank Vaughan is going to do a video on this. He says, video coming, looking for it. This is one of the most egregious displays of immature, discriminatory, racist, and defamatory behaviors to come out of the Canadian media environment. At Mcleans, do you support the actions of your contributing editor last night? At Maxime Bernier. And I agree. It seems really interesting. This guy's got a history of being violent. And, well, I think that it's interesting that he thinks that it's just fine to flip off some people he disagrees with, but not okay for a counter view to be presented on the stage, despite the penetration of the party and the speed at which that party has been built. It's very interesting. So here's an article about the debate. I don't feel equipped to give you a realistic breakdown of the debate, so I want you to make up your own mind. The link is in the description to the full debate. You can read it, or you can watch it here. I watch in double speed because it's faster and less thinking time for the people who are thinking to form their thoughts, right? The thoughts just come out faster. So I don't feel equipped to give you what I thought of that debate because I didn't watch it. Not all of it, not yet. So I'll read you this and hope that suffices. And understand that this is global news and understand that every news source has a slant. Okay, so here we go. Absent Trudeau, a target for party leaders in first election debate. Absent Justin Trudeau was the primary target for opposition leaders Thursday during the first debate of the federal election campaign, but his rivals managed to bloody one another as well. Trudeau gave the Mcleans City TV debate a pass, preferring to spend his time at a rally in Edmonton. Even before they took to the debate stage in Toronto, his rivals accused Trudeau of cowardice, afraid to defend what they described as his abysmal record. Yeah, look at that carrying water by the newspaper, what they describe. Yes, no, it's an abysmal record. It's an absolutely awful record. Back to the article. But some of the sharpest exchanges during the debate saw opposition leaders attacking each other, particularly the NDP's Jagmeet Singh and Green's Elizabeth May, who polls suggest are locked in potentially existential battle for third place. Hold on, time out. There were 3 people on the stage, all opposition leaders. Is that really the best you've got, Global News? Oh my goodness, they're attacking each other. What else were they going to do? Back to the article. Both portrayed Trudeau's Liberals and Andrew Scheer's Conservatives as establishment parties that catered to the wealthy and vied to present themselves as the real progressive alternative. Yeah, that word right there, that's the problem. Garbage. Get rid of it. Progressiveness. It's worse than globalism, and that's bad enough. Back to the article. Scheer, for the most part, kept his sights trained on Trudeau, lambasting him for running up massive deficits despite promising in 2015 that he would return the federal budget to balance after a few years of modest red ink. He warned that a re-elected Liberal government will raise taxes to pay off the accumulating debt and promised a Conservative government would live within its means and return to budgetary balance within 5 years. By getting back to balanced budgets, we can lower taxes and put money in your pockets so that you can get ahead, Scheer said. That is what this election is all about. Who do you trust to make life more affordable and help you get ahead? But both Singh and May countered that Scheer would cut taxes for the wealthy and cut services for the rest. And on foreign policy, they accused him of being a clone of U.S. President Donald Trump. Oh my goodness, Ford's Donald Trump, and Patrick Brown was Donald Trump, and now Andrew Scheer's Donald Trump. It's Trump everywhere. Run away. Ah! So ridiculous. Okay, back to this. I found it funny that they buried Scheer's response between two, like a headline and this like weird chevron-y thing. Yeah, this is very, very weird. Anyway, back to the article. That's just false, countered Scheer. Scheer dodged several questions from the debate moderator, Mcleans columnist Paul Wells, about whether he still supports Brexit now that the United Kingdom's move to leave the European Union is mired in chaos. But Singh took the opportunity to tie Scheer's pro-Brexit sentiment with a broader anti-immigration sentiment, accusing Scheer of using defamatory language about refugee claimants arriving in Canada through unofficial border crossings and having, quote, some association with anti-immigrant yellow vesters. Yes. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's just not true. You're just making things up, Scheer said, insisting that Conservatives want a fair, orderly, and compassionate immigration system. Both Singh and May went after Scheer over Conservative senators blocking a bill that would have ensured Canadian laws conform to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. It stalled in the Senate and died with the election call. Scheer defended the senators, arguing that the Conservatives were concerned the bill would have required free, prior informed consent of Indigenous communities for any resource project, effectively giving a veto to a single community that could hold all the others hostage. May and Singh chided him for what they called disrespectful and inappropriate language. Despite their jabs at one another, the 3 opposition leaders rarely lost a chance to pummel their primary target, Trudeau. Debate on Indigenous issues veered into the SNC-Lavalin affair, with Scheer taking the opportunity to remind viewers that Trudeau is the only prime minister to have been found to have broken ethics law. And now we find out that the RCMP is looking into this case with a view to possible obstruction of justice. And he is obstructing their attempts to get the truth, Scheer said, referring to reports this week that the RCMP probe has been stymied by the refusal to waive cabinet confidentiality on matters surrounding former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould's assertion that she was improperly pressured to stop the prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. Earlier in the day, Trudeau stuck by his decision to participate in only 2 official debates next month and a third in French hosted by TVA, and he suggested he'd prefer to be on the campaign trail in BC and Alberta anyway. Quote, the opportunity to get out across the country, speak with Canadians, listen to them, and talk about how we are going to build a better future for everyone and how we're going to choose a better future for everyone is at the core of what this election is about for me, he said in Victoria, where he announced an expansion of a program to help first-time homebuyers. Hard eye roll. Back to the article. While his rivals were taking the debate stage, Trudeau was revving up party faithful at a rally in Edmonton, reminding Albertans of everything his government has done to help them weather the plunge in world oil prices, including buying the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project. Go out to Calgary. Have a rally in Calgary. See who shows up. Yeah, for real. Wow. I scroll down a bit because this whole thing is talking about just lead up and kind of smaller issues. You can read it if you like. Link is in the description. Quote, while May was in Thursday night's debate, the People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier was excluded from the lineup. He took his campaign to his home riding of Beauce in Quebec, the lone seat his party currently holds. He said it was funny that a satirical rhinoceros party has found someone with the same name to run against him in his hometown, but feels voters are smart enough to make the right choice. The Rhino Party thing is extremely dangerous. Who's funding that? Seriously, it's a really, really, really dangerous thing. Here's Elizabeth May saying, let's talk about Brexit, and then talking about Brexit for a few minutes anyway. And then the debate, this is a couple of minutes and we're going to watch it because I think it's important. But then the debate moderator says, hold on, I'm going to defend the guy who's not here. I think that this is important to note. Like, this is important to watch this stuff. Why are you defending Justin Trudeau? He had an opportunity to defend himself. Mcleans, it shouldn't be your function to defend Mr. Trudeau. He chose to skip this debate. That was his choice. And I think it's an appropriate period for you to do what you're doing here. I'm just going to back it up just a little. Here we go.
Strike the balance in Europe. They've done a
Listen
good job
for May to
trying
say, let's
strike
talk
the
about
balance
Brexit.
Between making sure there's a free flow and people are able to have commerce, but doing it in a way that doesn't benefit the people at the very top and allow them to enrich themselves, but does it in a way that actually helps working people. And that's my focus. And with any trade deal, it's got to be a focus.
Yeah, let's talk
There's got
about
to be a focus on
Ms.
workers.
May?
Yeah, I just say Brexit is a tragedy of enormous proportions. What's happened to our colleagues, the Parliament of Westminster, the people of the UK, is disastrous. The whole, and I want to get to something, it may sound like I'm leaving Brexit, but Brexit was a manipulation of public opinion through the invasion of the privacy rights of Brits from things like Cambridge Analytica. It was mining data and making up lies that perfectly fit the people who would then hear those lies. So the referendum was won through deceit. We must, I hope and pray that my colleagues in the British Parliament, and I do have one Green colleague, Carolyn Lucas, that they find their way through this, because Boris Johnson's bullying efforts will not work. Thank goodness the Parliament at Westminster and its House of Lords managed to stick with the fundamentals, that he couldn't pull the plug and call an election. No one's tried that in the British Commonwealth since Stephen Harper.
I do want to get back to you, Mr. Scheer. And there's a reason why I asked this question, besides that it was a pretty clever way to phrase it. And I want to stick up for the guy who's not here. Justin Trudeau has written...
You want to stick up for the guy who's not here. Why? So that whole exchange, Brexit, pillorying Boris Johnson, saying, the good thing he couldn't do what. This is not a House of Lords debate. This is not a UK debate. And Mr. Scheer's body language was that of somebody who's frustrated with everything that's going on. But that's why I didn't watch this debate, because it has it has very little to do with the actual, with what's on Canadians' minds these days. And that's a problem. And the bigger problem is they're going to point to this and say, this is the debate you got because this is the debate you wanted, because nobody's having a big pushback about this. Canadians don't do that. Canadians just get frustrated and pissed off and more fractured. So it's very interesting to watch what's going on. It's very concerning. And man, I'm concerned. But here we go. The election is on, and 39 days left till October 21st. Have a good day. Make sure you get out and vote. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I haven't got my pattern down on that one yet. Sorry, everyone.